Just dropping nicely. Eustaquio!
South Africa had the ball. For 58% of this match, they controlled it. They pressed, they pushed, they circled Canada's half with what looked like total dominance. And yet, when the final whistle blew, the scoreboard read South Africa 0, Canada 1. Let that sink in for a second. This wasn't just a result, this was a lesson in cold, ruthless, surgical efficiency. And if you weren't watching this game from start to finish, you missed one of the most quietly devastating performances of this entire World Cup group stage. Welcome back. This is Football Match Files, and today we are breaking down Canada versus South Africa, a match that was completely different from what the statistics suggest. So strap in, because this one is wild. Let's set the scene first. Canada coming into this game had already shown the world exactly who they are. A 6-0 demolition of Qatar, a hard-fought draw against Bosnia, then a narrow loss to Switzerland in a game they were right there in until the end. Canada needed a result here. Not just to survive, but to make a statement. And South Africa were fighting for their World Cup lives. The Bafana had something to prove, and they came out looking like they knew exactly that. From the very first whistle, South Africa dictated the tempo. They were pressing high, winning second balls, and keeping Canada pinned back. Look at the possession numbers. 58% for South Africa. That's not a stat you see from a team that loses this match.
Nicely.
That's a stat from a team that looked like the better side, at least on paper. But here's where it gets interesting, because controlling the ball and doing something dangerous with it, those are two very different things. South Africa managed just 6 total shots across the entire match. 6. Of those, only 2 were on target. 2 moments, that's all Canada's goalkeeper Maxime Crépeau had to deal with in terms of real threats. Meanwhile, South Africa's Ronwen Williams, the man between the posts for Bafana, faced 5 saves. 5. Canada were constantly knocking. And eventually, inevitably, that door was going to open. Now let's talk about what Canada were actually doing without the ball, because this is the part most people are going to overlook. 42% possession sounds passive, it sounds reactive, but Canada were not passive. They were disciplined, they sat in a compact shape, they absorbed South Africa's pressure, and they launched sharp, incisive counters every single time they won the ball back. 14 total shots, 7 on target. This was a team that knew exactly what they were doing. And then came the yellow cards. Canada picked up 2 bookings, minute 54 and minute 67. That's 2 cautions in a 13-minute window, which tells you things got physical in that second half. South Africa were throwing bodies forward, trying to break the deadlock. Canada were holding firm, and holding firm gets expensive sometimes. The substitutions paint an even clearer picture. Canada made 5 changes. 5. That's not panic, that's tactical control. Jesse Marsch sending messages from the touchline, refreshing legs, maintaining the structure. South Africa made 3 changes, all aimed at forcing something, anything, through that Canadian defensive wall. And then 90 minutes, the 90th minute. Almost everyone watching this game had already started writing goalless draw in their heads. South Africa had dominated the ball. Canada had defended bravely. It felt like the kind of game that was destined to end in a stalemate. And then Canada scored 1 goal, 90 minutes in. When South Africa's legs were gone, when their concentration was fractured, when they thought they'd done enough to steal a point, Canada punished them. Cold, clinical, ruthless. That's what elite counter-attacking football looks like. You don't need the ball the whole time. You don't need to dominate possession, or rack up 12 corners, or play 40-minute spells in the opposition half. You need your chances, and you need to take them when it matters most. Canada took theirs at the worst possible moment for South Africa, and the best possible moment for themselves. Now, let's talk players. Jonathan David was a nightmare for the South African defense, constantly moving, constantly threatening behind the line. Tajon Buchanan on the right side was electric in the moments Canada had space to run. Stephen Eustáquio in the middle was the engine, the man making sure Canada's structure never broke, never got disorganized, never gave South Africa the gaps they were desperately searching for. For South Africa, Relebohile Mofokeng showed flashes of genuine quality. Oswin Appollis was dangerous in bursts, but Evidence Magopa, who you'd expect to be the focal point up front, found no space, no supply, and no luck. The Canadian backline of Moise Bombito and Cornelius was simply immovable, and that is the real story of this match. It wasn't about who played better. It wasn't about who deserved to win based on the eye test. It was about who was efficient, who was smart, who refused to blink. South Africa pressed higher, passed more, and controlled the rhythm of the game. Canada absorbed every single second of that pressure and responded with one devastating punch right at the death. Final score, South Africa 0, Canada 1, and Canada march into the round of 16. This is what the 2026 World Cup is delivering. Not just goals and celebrations, but tactical chess matches like this one. Games where the conventional wisdom gets flipped on its head. Games where the team with less of the ball walks away with all 3 points. Canada came to this World Cup as hosts with a point to prove. And match by match, performance by performance, they are proving it. This squad is organized. This squad is dangerous. And after what they just did to South Africa in the 90th minute of a group stage clash, the teams left in this tournament need to start taking Canada very, very seriously. If you enjoyed this breakdown, drop a like, leave a comment, tell us which stat from this game shocked you the most. Was it the 6 shots for South Africa, the 5th save for Crepeau, or that 90-minute winner that nobody saw coming? Let us know below. Subscribe to Football Match Files for more full match analysis from the 2026 World Cup. We'll see you in the next one.